And joining us now to discuss is CoinDesk Director of Data and Indexes, Galen Moore in Boston. Welcome, Galen. We always enjoy having you this afternoon. So what do you make of this skyrocketing activity on the Lightning Network?
You know, we've talked about this before, Christine, and I think it's been a banner year for Lightning. You know, beyond the initial excitement, the network had kind of been flat for some time in terms of adoption. We've seen that. We've seen a breakout year so far this year, more than double the amount of Bitcoin staked in these nodes, in these active channels. And as you noted, the increase in the number of active channels. I think I guess the question to be asked is like, how low can you go?
How are people using Lightning
Right.
Network more
The
and more?
supply is up for sure, but is the demand up? The average fee, so, you know, the way Lightning works is you can operate a node and route transactions. You stake Bitcoin in order to do that, and you receive a share of the transaction fee in return for your troubles. Right now, the median base fee for a transaction on Lightning is about 1 Satoshi. That's 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin, or about 5/100ths of a penny. That's on average, that's a fee rate of about 1/1000th of a percent. So people are not necessarily doing this for the money.
No.
I think. But I think there's, perhaps in anticipation that in the future there will be an increased demand for this network.
So there are more nodes, there are more channels. Are people using the network more?
I think that sort of, it's hard to say, right? Lightning, to some extent, has privacy features. I mean, for example, if you and I open a channel together, we might transact any number of times, and those transactions are never revealed to the network until such time as we close that channel. So, it's hard to say how many people might be using it for those kind of back and forth transactions. But I think...
But what we know is that the people who have the channels, who have the nodes, are not making much from it. So.
Yeah, exactly. If the fee is an indicator of demand, then I would say that, I mean, obviously the point of Lightning is to have fees be low. But I think, given they're quite low. So, perhaps if we see that fee start to pick up a little bit to sort of the lower regions of the very bottom of where they might be, then
right. Galen, nevertheless, Chainalysis is releasing their 2021 Global Crypto Adoption Index to kick off their Geography of Cryptocurrency report series. And emerging markets are adopting crypto, according to this report, and taking away some of the dominance by China and the United States.
Yeah, that's an interesting report, Christine. I mean, look, we saw Vietnam, India, Pakistan, Ukraine, and Kenya top the list of the most active countries in crypto, according to Chainalysis. They were above the two countries that we often see in the headlines. Nigeria and Venezuela were the number 6 and 7 spots, with the U.S. beneath that. And I think, to some extent, that reflects the methodology that Chainalysis is using. They're attempting to measure adoption by individuals so that doesn't get sort of washed out by the large-scale investor activity that might be taking place in geographies like the U.S., Europe, or Asia, East Asia.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I was very interested to see some of those countries up there, and I'm curious what's going on the ground. Vietnam, for example, the government announced a pilot in virtual currency last month. That is probably more likely to be an effect than a cause, I would think. And I'm curious to hear more about, the anecdotes about what's happening on the ground in Vietnam.
It is wonderful to see emerging markets taking advantage of this digital currency technology. So great to see that. And despite Bitcoin rising and all this activity, if we look at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, we have a chart here, widely seen as a gauge on institutional adoption on crypto, it's been trading at a discount. Can you explain what's going on?
Sure. The GBTC premium was a noted factor for a long time. In February, that flipped to become the GBTC discount. So it set a low point for the past 3 months yesterday at about 15.3%. And it's still near that at about 14% last I checked. And you can check yourself on tradeblock.com, which is a CoinDesk subsidiary. Look, I mean, GBTC premium discount is a hard signal to read. GBTC buyers are a mixture of institutional and retail buyers. You can buy GBTC on your Charles Schwab account. On the other hand, many asset managers are constrained in terms of what sort of ways they can use to get access to Bitcoin, and GBTC on the secondary market may be the sort of preferred alternative. Also there's the factor that the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust itself remains closed to new issuance and has been for most of the year.
Not to mention that there's more competition. There are other Bitcoin trusts out there, and there are Bitcoin ETFs in Canada, at least.
That's correct. And then you had this sort of cliff in July with the expiration of a number of the lockups on some of the primary issuance that occurred toward the end of last year, this July. That I don't think, yielded the sort of increase in the discount, the widening of the spread was not, it went to single digits at times during July, even as that raft of lockups expired, and you're now seeing it drop back deeper into double digits, even as demand for Bitcoin seems to be picking up. So, and again, of course, hanging over all this is the stated intention of Grayscale to convert the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into an ETF.